It looks like we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. I am Alexi. I will be the chronicler for this evening. We are playing a game here. This is Tales from the Low Cantrefs, The Path Unwinding, session 1 of 4. So this game has been facilitated through the Gauntlet gaming community. Go ahead and check out the Gauntlet at gauntlet-rpg.com or follow the Gauntlet on Twitter at GauntletRPG. It's a wonderful community of folks playing cool games each and every month, and you can sign up to play with us, especially if you keep an eye out for our Gauntlet community open gaming weekends. I think the next one's coming up at the end of February. The game we're playing here is Tales from the Low Cantrefs. This is a game in development from Luke Jordan of Games from the Wild Wood. And Luke has been generous enough to allow us to take a look at their game and test it out. We're working from the playtest packet that they sent out. And I'll just read a little bit about Tales from the Low Cantrefs from this packet by way of introduction. Is a hearth fantasy coming-of-age role-playing game built on the Apocalypse World engine. It is a game filled with petty village politics, childhood superstitions, adults who just don't understand, strange magics, wild and ruined landscapes, monsters out of old folk tales, and the terrible responsibility of growing up. I'm very excited to test this out. Inspirations for this game include things like the Chronicles of Prydain, the Old Kingdom trilogy by Garth Nix, the Rowan of Rin series, and other stories in this hearth fantasy genre. So we are going to be playing with the tone and setting suggested by this playtest packet. The tone is that it's a game about adolescence and acceptance, grief and sacrifice. And the setting is the world of the Low Cantrefs, a patchwork of little villages spread across a tapestry of field and forest. Even the largest are home only to a few hundred souls, and most people know each member of their community by name. And our characters are the young people of the village. They've grown up together, bickered and played together. They know each other well, and we will find out who they become when they're here on the cusp of growing up. Speaking of our characters, let's start by meeting the wonderful players who'll be playing those characters. I'd like everyone to do just a player introduction where you say your name, pronouns if you wish, or your online handle, or anything else you'd want someone to know about you. We can kind of do a quick round of intros this way. Rosamund, would you start us off?
Sure. My name is Rosamund Hodge. I am on Twitter as Rosamund Hodge. Where I mostly just shit post about Star Wars and stuff. I have already forgotten. Was I supposed to go ahead and introduce my characters, or is it still just me?
Just you. We'll come back for the characters. So very good. Good to have you, Rosamund. Chris, you're up next. Just tell us a little about yourself.
Hey, Chris Newton. I go by he, him pronouns. I'm on Twitter at Enervan, that's INARVAN. I post about nerd stuff occasionally, gaming stuff occasionally, comic books, and all sorts of other stuff. And hey.
Good to have you, Chris. And great to be playing again. David, you're up next. Tell us about yourself.
Hi, my name is David. I use he, him pronouns. I am also on Twitter at Chap of Steel. If you do want to check me out there, though, it is mostly just retweets of pictures of animals and the world stuff in general. So feel free to ignore.
Nothing wrong with retweets of pictures of animals. Good to be playing with you, David. Dan, tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Dan Pusel. I am a technical theater educator in North Texas. My online presence is severely lacking, so I don't have handles that I can tell you to follow.
No worries. No one is required to have online handles. Good to have you here, Dan, and great to be playing with you. So let's move on to characters. I'd love to just read what the playtest packet says about these playbooks, because I think it's pretty great. There's these 4 playbooks, and so we have 4 players each piloting one of them. They're the Bell, the Blade, the Door, and the Loom. So Rosamund, before I have you introduce your bell, I'll just read what it says here. The bell, caring, truthful, and sincere, with a real way with words. Will you work to be kind, or grow up clumsy with people's fragile hearts? So Rosamund, if you don't mind, just give us some of the main choices you've made about your character, their name, their age and look, their gear and milestones, just so we have the basics of who the bell is going to be as you play them.
Okay. My character is Luned, which I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
I say go with it.
I guess this isn't like technically real Wales after all.
No, it's the low Cantrefs of fantasy world.
Okay, she's 16 years old, with piercing eyes, lilting voice, and a wistful smile. Her milestones are: deliver terrible news to someone, set a firm boundary with a loved one, speak with one of the dead, and misread someone at great cost.
Yeah, this is, and I guess I should say, milestones are things the player picks out as, well, milestones for their character, things they're hoping to get to see the character do over the course of the whole story we're telling. So that is an exciting set you've chosen there.
And my gear is a handful of silver, a locket that holds the portrait of a loved one, a crest or emblem of my family, a circle of branches, a token of safe passage, and a letter written by someone I have since lost. And the person I have lost is my older sister, who went the next town over to be married a couple years ago and then died very shortly after.
Okay, we're gonna delve in and learn a little more about all of these gear things you've picked, but that is a good thing to whet our appetite. So this is a letter to Luned. She's read it many times, or she's never opened it?
Read it many times.
Okay, just wanted to check. A letter from her dearly departed older sister. Cool. Let's see, and just to make sure, as the GM, I'm throwing the right things in your way. It looks like you've picked out your stats. Your honesty is always the strong stat for the bell. You've also picked a strong resolve. So you are more equipped to resort to violence or make a difficult journey than you might otherwise be. But you put -2 in learning. So you're not necessarily going to excel at calling on superstition or searching your memory. Cool. We have a sense of where Luned might excel and where challenges might lie for her. Wonderful. Anything else we should know right at this moment about Luned, or are you up for me to move forward and meet some of our other player characters?
I have a younger sister still alive, who is sort of the I guess rebel of the family. I used to be the negotiator between her and my older sister. Now it's between her and my mother, who is fairly domineering. We are one of the richer families in the village, and my mother is very aware of that.
Oh, fascinating. All right. A whole family dynamic to be explored. I love this. Let's meet our next character. Chris, will you tell us about the blade? Oh, let me read the central question for the blade here. Bold, brash, and loyal, a shield for those they love. Will you strive to yield and gentle, or grow up blunt and careless of others? So, Chris, tell us about your blade.
Okay, Ruga is growing like a weed, has flinty eyes, a brash voice, and scarred hands. Stat-wise, she is not the most cautious person, not the most careful person. She's very brave. She has a lot of trouble opening up to people or asking for help. She's she's just smart enough to get herself into trouble, I think would be the right way to put that. There's just enough to get into trouble, and is also basically tough and self-reliant enough to get a lot of things done on her own. Milestone-wise, I picked that it would be good for her to feel helpless in the face of her fear, admit her doubts to someone she trusts, make and follow a plan instead of leaping in, which would be a big step for her, and get in trouble due to your haste, which I think would be the learning step to making a plan.
So it sounds like these are things she hasn't done yet.
Right. I don't see her being all that good at planning, and certainly not good at asking for help or opening up. So gear-wise, she has a spear that has some magic about it. The spearhead is from an old family heirloom. The haft is new, but the spearhead is old. What the magic is, she doesn't really know. It's just supposed to be magical, and she treats it that way. She also carries a pair of iron shears that are sharp, but a little on the not too well put together side. They're clumsy. That she forged herself because she helps out at the blacksmiths. She's trying
at the smithy.
Right. That's how she got those scarred hands, and that's her first solo project. Those are close to her heart, but they're really not very good. She has a pair of warm and sturdy gloves that were knitted for her by a childhood friend. I'm not sure who the childhood friend is yet. I'm still kind of mulling that over. I might have an idea about that later on. She also carries a token of a promise owed, which has the heavy tag, but I'm not sure if that's supposed to mean heavy as in emotional weight or heavy as in like it's literally heavy. Like
I think it's really up to you. I think you can decide it's emotionally heavy or decide it's physically heavy, and either is pretty cool.
Okay, and I think the promise is something I'm still sort of kind of like the childhood friend. I'm still sort of mulling that over as to how I want that to shape out. So
they could be related to the same character.
I was thinking that, but I haven't. But I thought I might see how we fill in the village, and then maybe pick someone interesting after we've done that.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Anything else we should definitely know about Ruga? She seems she seems cool. I'm excited to see her get into and out of trouble here. Oh, and you picked out a character portrait. Let me just scroll down so folks watching the video can see. Yeah, flinty eyes, red hair, and scarred hands from her smithy work. Great. Anything else, Chris, or shall we meet our next player character?
I think that's everything about her right now.
David, you're up next. You are playing the Door. Let me read what folks should know about the Door. Staunch, steady, and resolute, guardian of thresholds. Will you deign to soften and unbend, or grow up rigid and brittle as iron? David, tell us a little about the Door for you.
Yeah, certainly. So the Door is Gwyn the Door, or just Gwyn is fine. It uses he, him pronouns. He is a 14-year-old boy who is growing like a weed. He has sad eyes and a weak smile. There's always just that kind of edge of sorrow to him, but he has kind of quite a sweet musical voice. He, in terms of his stats, he is a coward.
His courage is -2. I see.
Indeed. That sort of fear and sadness are quite key to him. He is also quite evasive in general, and tries to kind of hide a lot of who he is as well, with an honesty of -1. He is, however, quite quick, quite astute, with a learning of 2. He also has a resolve of 2, despite the kind of the inherent kind of fear and uncertainty he has when he does commit something. He commits when he's forced into it. He is quite resourceful. He has a conjurer's key, which is the source of / connection to the uncanny powers he is starting to wield. He also has a conjurer's manual, which is stained and battered. I think the key actually fits like a lock on the front of the book. So the book itself is looks burnt. It's clearly not intact anymore. Though there is presumably still some knowledge contained within. He also has a steel belt knife that was a name day gift from his father. And he has a heavy cloak, which was inherited from a worldly relative, which in this case was his mother, who was one of the few people. She actually came from outside the village and moved, though she has been dead for many years now. And Gwyn the Door has primarily been brought up by his father.
Got it. So his mother, one of the very few who's kind of traveled from afar to settle in this village.
Yep. I think that is more or less it.
Yeah. Tell me about the milestones you picked.
Oh, yes, sorry, milestones. I forgot about those. So yeah, milestones I went for. Face one of the ancient dead. Admit that I can't do something and ask for help. Get lost in the mists of death with a loved one, and open up to someone about my fears, which, in all honesty, given all the death, are probably quite justified.
And you've picked out an excellent little picture here.
Indeed. Yes. So yeah, I've gone for that kind of. He's got like dark hair. Struggles to keep it looking sort of fairly neat. Yes.
Unruly hair, you might say.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great. I feel for him. So Gwyn is that what his friends call him? Like, what's the is there a distinction among those who use his full name versus the nickname here?
I think most people probably just refer to him as Gwyn.
Does his father call him Gwyn or Gwynfor?
His father calls him Gwynfor. Yeah. I think certainly his certainly for discipline purposes. Anyway.
Yeah, the full name ultimatum, absolutely. This is great. Lovely to meet Gwyn, and excited to delve into these conjurer's powers that he's starting to discover, and it sounds like keeping pretty secret for the moment. Yeah, I hear you. Let's meet last but not least. Let's meet last but not least our Loom. So Dan, tell us about your character, or rather, let me first say, the Loom, prudent, practical, and discerning, with the gift of foresight. Will you accept you can't control it all, or grow up cold and calculating? Tell us about your Loom, Dan.
The Loom's name is Barrow. They use he, them pronouns. Let's see here. They're 15. They're still in a pretty awkward phase. They kind of hope they grow out of that at this point, but it hasn't quite happened yet. He has a focused gaze, speaks with a kind of a hushed voice, but his hands are steady. Barrow is a very thinky, very attention-paying kind of person. Let me see here. He's very good at paying attention to things and remembering stuff. However, he's not very good at opening up to people, and is just awful at anything that involves violence or long journeys. The milestones I picked. Barrow is going to someday soon cause trouble by failing to prepare for something. Admit that they don't always know best. let a loved one make a grave mistake, and make a sacrifice to change the future. As far as
Lovely milestones. Tell me a little about about the gear that you have.
Oh, yeah. So the default is an almanac, I think probably passed down through the family, written over generations. He wears a shawl woven over one winter by a parent, probably his mom. He has an old tool, a reminder of the trust once placed in him, and I've been thinking about what that is. I think maybe like a hatchet or a knife was right there, but I think maybe something that's a little more towards rough woodwork. A set of tree runes, which I don't know a lot about, but I'm excited to find out more about. And some medicinal herbs picked and dried by their mentor. I think that is probably his let's say his grandfather. His grandfather is kind of a woodsy person or a wilderness person who will go out mushroom hunting and picking appropriate herbs and things, and is taking Barrow under his wing.
And the grandfather is still alive and still
for the time being, yeah,
foraging and teaching Barrow the ways of we're living in the wilderness. Okay, yeah. I like all that. When it says the hatchet is a reminder of the trust once placed in you, do you have a sense of what that trust was?
I think it may have been. Let me see here. A trust that Barrow has an understanding of what wood is okay to prune and harvest, what wood is not. Some trees are sacred. Some trees it's okay to prune a branch or something, but some trees you don't touch. And I think that's an important thing that his family really cleaves to.
That's excellent, right? Yeah, because there is the great trees that are a sort of pantheon in this setting, and we'll ask in a minute about how those great trees interact with the village's values. I like it. Anything else we should definitely know about Barrow before we move on?
I think that's what I've got.
I like this set of characters very much. Let's learn a little about the village that they all call home. So I am moving over to the village tab, and you'll see there's a Google Drawing link in this tab. And so as we make some decisions, we'll actually be able to mark them on our map if we so desire. But firstly, we're going to pick out a name for this village. I'm going to do some kind of calling on people, and then if you have a different idea or want to propose an adjustment, do so. But to start, I'm going to call on Rosamund. What is the name of our village?
Sindel.
Ooh, how do you want that spelled?
It's right there in the examples on the doc.
Perfect. Yeah, Sindle. Okay, Sindel is our village. That does feel pretty good to say aloud. Everyone all right with the village of Sindel? Where does the village lie? Yes, where you can kind of choose some like landscape features. You know what? I'll have everybody choose one of these, and it says choose 2 to 4, and we can get a sense of the like whole surrounding landscape. So, Chris, what's one of these that you want to choose for where does the village lie?
I can't pass up beyond a crumbling ruin. We've got to have a crumbling ruin.
We got to have a crumbling ruin indeed. And if you would like, go ahead and mark where the crumbling ruin is on our map. If you're able to, you should be able to get in there and edit that. and just you use whatever shape you want and a little text box to label it as the crumbling ruin outside the borders of the village. David, something more about where the village lies.
Yes, I am muted. Good. The village lies up on the high moors, lots of rolling hillsides covered mostly with scrubby gorse and heather, with occasional copses of woodlands, particularly clustered in the valleys.
Oh, I like it. Very good. So we've got kind of more landscape by default, and then bits of forest. That sounds good to me. Dan, another kind of feature of the landscape we want to include here.
I think it's by a long lake. Maybe there is a creft in the moors, and there is a body of water, a small loch that has developed there.
Ooh, yeah, that's very good. We'll learn more about each of these in the next question. Rosamund, one other thing about where the village lies that we want to keep in mind.
Gonna go with near a leaning tower.
Ooh,
I feel like you can't have too many creepy buildings.
yeah. So this is not the same as the crumbling ruin. Is the leaning tower still in use to some degree, even though it's leaning?
No, I think it's abandoned.
Abandoned, but not wholly collapsed.
Yeah.
Just leaning. I like it. Very good. Well, let's get some details about each of these. Rosamund, what spooky stories have you heard about the Leaning Tower?
It's been abandoned for about probably 50-ish years now. But the last person who lived in it was an old woman who was commonly regarded to be some kind of witch or something like that. And she was found dead one morning at the base of the tower.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a sense in the Low Cantrefs that magic definitely exists, but you probably shouldn't mess with it. Sorcery is scary and volatile. Conjuring is a dead magic talked of only in tales. The only kind of magic that's given any sort of social blessing is gramarye, the learning the secrets of the great trees. But it sounds like this woman was rumored to be party to magic that is not so approved. And she was found dead at the base of the tower, you said?
Yes. Obviously dead from falling from it, but nobody knows if she leapt or was pushed, and if so, who or what might have pushed her. And of course, there are now stories that you can sometimes still see her walking on the top of the tower.
Love it. Does the tower itself have a name or a way that people refer to it now? Like, do they call it the Tower of the Witch, or is there some different term that stuck to it?
That's a good question.
I'm all right to come back to it if you want to mull it over.
Yeah, let me mull that over.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'll mix things up and ask people details about stuff other people introduced even. So, Chris, how do you and your friends amuse yourselves when you're up on the high moors?
Oh, well, since it looks like the hillsides are all covered in heather, when we were little kids, basically that used to be like the perfect place to do like hide and seek and games of tag and things like that, because basically all you had to do was trip and fall and you disappeared. Like, so you could always hide, you could always run around, you could get lost if you got in trouble, that sort of stuff. So it's that's kind of stuff we used to do. I think as we sort of grew up-ish a little bit, I think those sort of games sort of fell away, and maybe now it's just like it's a place that is easy, that it's still easy for us to get to, but I think some of the older folks that want to find us to get us to work don't like to stomp their way up there so much anymore. So it's a place for us to go to basically have some time to ourselves where we're not getting called constantly to go do things or to get to work or things like that. It's a nice place to basically hide out and avoid having to do things.
Yeah, well, following along with this theme, but Dan, why do the adults say you should stay away from the crumbling ruin?
I think some kids have gotten lost there. Yeah, I think what's on the surface is fairly compact, but there's a lot of little nooks and crannies and crevices, and I think some kids have gotten lost there, and some kids have come back from there behaving very differently and troublingly.
Oh, that is fascinating. When this has happened, what do the adults do about it? Is there something to be done to try and cure or bring back to normal someone who returns a little strange from the ruins?
I think there may be some folk traditions, like hey, you'll need to feed them this, give them, apply this poultice, things like that are occasionally effective, but not always.
That's really good. Yeah. Lastly, we've got a long lake. David, David, what draws the young people to the lake?
I think it's there's very good fishing in the lake. It's always there's always good always a good chance of getting a good haul from the lake. And I think despite the fact that we're up in the moorlands and stuff, I think most of the kids, again particularly because like the fishing is quite good there, do learn to swim generally. When the weather is nice enough, the kids will go out there to swim, build rafts and all that sort of thing. There probably some people do have actual like row boats that they take out for sort of proper fishing out in the center of the lake, but certainly as kids mostly just mess around sort of close to the shore.
Got it. Very good. Do we have nice? I've been focused on writing stuff down, and you guys have been doing a good job putting things into our map, so we have our long lake going on. I love it. Looks like the tower is kind of past the lake.
No, that was past the lake. That's a great idea.
Maybe even like leaning over it a little bit.
I wanted to I was checking out the evil things associated with cardinal directions, and I wanted to put it in the west.
Yeah, that's a good point. There are kind of superstitions associated with each cardinal direction, and those would be things that the characters are familiar with about what comes from the north, what comes from the west. From the west comes chaos, injustice, imbalance, and ruptures between the world and in the natural order. Very nice. See, I was prepared to just go in later and add my own interpretation, but you guys are reading carefully and picking up the parts of the world here and how they fit together. I like it. Cool. All right. I like this. I like this map. I like this sense of where different things near the village are. Let's learn a little bit more. Which great tree's worship is neglected? All right. Well, Barrow is knowledgeable about the trees. So tell me, which of the great trees doesn't get that much respect or worship from the village of Sindel?
I think the yew tree, as still as death, doesn't get as much respect as the other trees.
And is that out of fear, or just people have forgotten what rights are supposed to be associated with the yew tree?
I think at first, maybe for a while, it was out of fear, but as folks, stopped doing the appropriate rites because they were anxious about the tree, then those rites sort of fell out of collective memory.
Mm. Does your grandfather remember any of the rites for the yew tree?
I think he's hinted at it. He's mentioned it, but it's not. But I think he also is a little skittish about the topic.
Fair enough. So this isn't something that any of you children have gotten that much of a straight answer about. It sounds like. Does that work for folks? Is if the yew tree is the neglected great tree, then Chris, where do people meet and gossip in the village? And this is you can kind of pick one of the descriptors from this list here and make a mark on the map so we know kind of where that is.
Okay. I think the two main places are when they're at work out in the fields, because it helps to pass the time, and people work in groups in the fields. It's not everybody in one place. There'll be a group of 3 or 4 working in this field and a group of 3 or 4 working in this other field. So you have these natural little cliques that have sort of formed by folks who are going out and working, generally working together on the same fields, or, at least coming together as a work group each day. So you have that. Also, just because I like the poetry of it, while they're out basically cleaning their dirty laundry, people are gossiping out there too. They're airing more laundry, more kinds of laundry than just one.
Oh, that's great. So definitely mark for us where the laundry posts stand in the village. That sounds like that's one of the key social sites for the village of Sindel.
Gotcha.
Wonderful. And when you talk about work groups in the fields, do you think your little group of young people here have that connection? Is it that when it's your turn to work in the fields, you are all together?
I mean, I think that would be a easy end for all of us to have an excuse to basically hang about together a good bit. So I like the idea, but I'm not super attached to it if folks have other ideas.
What do you think? Did that work for you?
Yeah, I like it.
Excellent. let's turn to what festivals does the village honor. Yeah, David, start us off. One or two, or one of these festivals that you're interested in, or one along these lines that you want to author here.
Yeah, so I like just for the foreshadowing. I like the there's definitely a festival where effigies of sorcerers are burnt, and I think it takes place. I think it takes place on the closest full moon to the winter solstice, which is obviously the most magically evil time of the year,
right?
The village kind of has these big mannequins that are supposed to look like sorcerers and demons and elemental beings and all this sort of stuff, that they're kind of ringed around the village, and they're sort of basically the village gets together.
Giant version of like a jack-o'-lantern, right?
Yeah, and sort of goes sort of to each in turn, sets light to it. There may also be copious drinking happening at the same time.
Tricky combining alcohol and fire, but human festivities have often done so
exactly.
It's not unrealistic for Sindel too as well.
And I think it's called I think it is just referred to the Festival of the Long Night.
That's good. Yeah. Jot down whatever you'd like for the Festival of the Long Night. But I think we'll remember those key details, right? Closest full moon to winter solstice, and burning effigies of sorcerers, elementals, and creatures of darkness to keep the village safe. Go for it.
No, I was going to say, and I think the other one I wanted to just bring in as well, because I quite like the look of it, is not so much like one specific thing, but I think that singing songs of the ancestors is a big deal. It's like a fairly, a big deal probably isn't the right way of putting it. It's a fairly common thing that kind of, there's a tradition of like singing and stuff, but it's not particularly tied to any like one day or time of year or anything. It's just a sort of more of an ad hoc thing.
I like that. It's not a festival per se. But it is a tradition. It's sort of a daily practice in the village. There's always someone singing a song of the ancestors, and everyone learns these songs as they're growing up. That's excellent. Yeah, we got good material there. Rosamund, what attitudes do the locals cling to? Pick one or two of these that you're excited about, and I'll have someone else also pick one.
I think definitely always honor the words of your elders.
Makes sense. There's a strong presumption that your elders know better, and you'll do well to honor them. And any other ones you want to make sure are part of the mix here?
I think also outsiders can never really be trusted.
Ooh. David, Gwyn's mother was one of the rare outsiders. Does that work for you? That there's like a generally distrustful attitude that maybe clings to him as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That sounds good.
Okay, just as long as we're all on board with the way these attitudes are likely to impact our characters. But I am all for it if you are. Chris, one more of these to give us the full like mix of attitudes here, right? You know, this is a village that has its own.
I think there's kind of an ugly undercurrent of everyone looking down upon anybody who has to ask for help. Like there's a certain number of things that you're expected to do together, and groups are expected to do, like the farm work, the field work. Building a new building, that sort of thing. But if it's something that you're expected to do on your own, asking for help is something that they expect only children to do. If you're an adult, you're supposed to know how to do it, and you're not supposed to have to ask for help.
Tricky for these characters, right at the cusp of childhood and adulthood. Yeah, I like it. There is. It sounds like there is some real solidarity in the village, but it's kind of solidarity around the things that are kind of understood to be group tasks. Like everyone knows that there's a need for everyone to pitch in. At harvest time, for example. But like asking for help outside that's an admission of weakness and lack of self-sufficiency. Does that track with what you're saying, Chris? Yeah, I like that as a sort of a set of attitudes to be working with here. Let's see. I'm going to turn back to Rosamund for this because we already had a reference to your sister leaving for another village. Which way and how far off is the nearest village?
Let me look at the map again. It's to the north, and it's about 2 or 3 days journey. You can make it in 2 if you really push, or 3 if you're on a slower pace. So you would have to camp out like as part of the journey to get there.
Nice. If you would jot that down in our keeper here, so we have a sense of that. And how are decisions made? Who's in charge? Yeah, an interesting question about the workings of Sindel. Dan, any thoughts on this?
I think there might be like a rudimentary chamber of commerce. I'm not sure I'm using that term correctly, but like it's a small rural village, but there's needs that can't be. There's things that can't be gotten without having things brought in. Like we have a smithy, but where does the metal come from? So there is some semblance of small businesses, and I think those folks, maybe the more well-established folks in town, have a bit of an old boys club, and that is just they gather together periodically and talk about what needs to be done in Sindel.
So it sounds to me like this is kind of a almost a council of merchants managing the imports and exports. That think of this as like this is the heavy responsibility and also the kind of place of leaders in this village. Does that sound right? That does sound right if that works for everybody else. I see nods going around. Luna, you talked about having a family that was very prominent in the village. I bet they're tied into this power structure.
Yeah,
I think that if that works for folks, I like that as a truth we're establishing here. Cool. Asking for help is the act of a child. Cool. Okay, just making sure all of the values are listed here as well, and we have a sense of what what the village expects of you. Let's. Are folks all right to press on, weave some relationships here, and then take a break before we start play, or do we want to take a little break now-ish? Because I could go with either plan.
I'm good to keep going.
Let's weave some relationships, and then we'll take a break that's long enough for everyone to do whatever they need to do, and then we'll resume and see these characters in action a little more. So, weaving a tapestry of relationships. There's some questions that the playtest packet suggests I ask each of you just to get more of a sense of how you fit in here. So, Luned, where do you live? Who in the village do you call family? You've given us some suggestions along these lines, but do you want to elaborate there?
Yes, I live near the center of the village with my mother, my father, my one surviving grandparent. It's my grandmother, on my maternal grandmother, and my little sister as well.
And I'd love a name, particularly for that younger sister. It sounds like is the firebrand of this family.
Yes, the little sister's Gwyn.
Very good. And any of these, any kind of characters you author along this conversation, you can drop into the NPCs tab if you so desire, where there's space to record names, to even put in a URL for a picture if you picked one out. But so you've said your family is prominent. Are your father and mother involved in the kind of mercantile village council? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they used to be kind of the sort of, not exactly the leaders. I don't think the council has like official leaders, but they were some of the biggest, like most influential ones. That's changed a little in the last few years after my sister's death, because a lot of people saw that as kind of an act of foolish pride on my mother's part. She kind of engineered the match with this also very well-off young man from the next village over, and then, her daughter dies because, of course, you can't trust anything outside the village.
Yeah, so it kind of reinforced that distrust of the outside and led to your parents being in less. So they're still part of the leadership, but they're not the people that everyone defers to now.
Yeah. There's kind of this sense that, well, my mother particularly, because she's kind of my father just kind of. My father is very agreeable and does whatever makes her happy, and my mother, there's this perception that she kind of got too. How do you say, too big for her britches, too impressed with herself, and then she did this foolish thing that lost her daughter.
So there's kind of they no longer command the respect they once did. There's a sense that there's some some hubris being punished. Wow, that must be tough, Luned. How do you feel about this? Is this the sort of thing where you feel the village has been unfair? You feel do you blame your mother for what happened to your sister, or how do you process all this? It's okay to say yeah.
I have kind of the curse of empathy that I want to agree with both the village, which also kind of echoes my unhappiness about my sister going away and then dying, but also not also wanting to agree with my mother, who feels very persecuted unjustly and put upon.
Yeah. I'm going to ask a question that's specific to the bell. When was the first time you got adults to listen to you? How did it feel?
I think it was actually right in the aftermath of my sister's death. We got the news, and my parents both just sort of lost it. They were very distraught, and my father just kind of shut down, and my mother was hysterical, and I was actually the one who had to get them to like actually take action and, arrange for the rights in front of the trees to be held for my sister. And so it was not a thrilling occasion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, a moment of kind of more responsibility than you felt was just to have to shoulder. Am I getting that sense correctly? Very good. Very good. Ruga, I'm going to turn to you. Where do you live in the village? With whom? What is that like for as far as your household or home life?
Well, I think Ruga's family kind of lives a little towards the outskirts of the village, but she is currently basically staying in a loft, and basically a loft in the blacksmith shop. She's doing, very rudimentary apprentice work, but it's stuff that starts really early in the morning, and they expect her to be right there and ready to go when they get started in the morning.
So the blacksmith at this point is kind of her, most important mentor or guardian, it seems like.
Right. I wouldn't necessarily go with guardian, but definitely mentor. I don't think the blacksmith is like that personally attached to her, but I think he recognizes that he's got, she's right now his most promising helper.
Yeah, do you have a name for the blacksmith, or we can also have you drop that into the NPCs tab whenever you figure it out? But I'm curious.
Let's say Corin.
All right, Corin the blacksmith. That's a good one. And a question for you as the Blade: who gave you your weapons, and how did you learn to fight?
I think what the spear is a family heirloom. I think she got that from her mother, and it came down like through her mother's family line, not from her dad's. Her dad's family was mostly farmers and were and have been consistently local, like as far as anybody knows, like they've pretty much always been in this village.
Yeah.
I think her mother's family, as far as anybody can remember in living memory, her mother's family's always been here. But the history of the family, like when they tell stories or when they sing songs, that family originated somewhere else and came to the village a long time ago. And stayed after they helped fight some battle here. And from that battle is where that spearhead comes from.
That's awesome. That's so there's not, it sounds like you don't have a lot of details about this, but there's like, you know, one of these ancestral songs that touches on this idea of an old battle and a family that stayed after that.
Right, and it mentions the spear. The spear is part of that song, so it's in there. Again, it's very fuzzy on exactly what's supposed to be magical about the spear, but you know, it's really old and it looks really cool. So
definitely magical. We don't know exactly what it does, but definitely it's magical.
Exactly.
I love it. Gwyn, yeah, you're up next. Where do you live? Who with? What's your home life like? David, that's you.
Sorry, I am blanking on my own name. So that is. I think that So as I said, Gwyn lives with his father, Rodri. I think he is. He's a carpenter, or I suppose probably primarily a Wainwright and Cooper, mostly dealing with carts and barrels, rather than fine furniture. He can turn his hand to that, but he's a bit more of a practical woodworker. I think as well, mostly because he makes barrels. He sort of runs probably like the closest thing there is to a pub in the town. Just like it's essentially he brews beer. People can come and drink beer.
I love it. So like a very very scrappy type of inn here.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. There is sawdust on the floor, but mostly just because it's an operational carpentry as well.
Where do you go when you want to be alone, Gwyn?
I think the Spooky Tower, because that's a great place to hang out.
That's excellent. So how old were you when the Conjurer's Key appeared at your window?
Not long ago. I think when he was maybe about a year or so ago, when he was 13.
Okay, yeah. Is that like a coming of age year in this village, or is that just a random number as far as anyone's concerned?
I don't think so specifically. I think it is a mostly random. I don't think there's a kind of necessarily a formal thing of coming of age. At that given time, sort of thing. But
it seems like people just kind of keep stepping up their expectations for you, and at a certain point you're supposed to be an adult. But our characters are figuring out their own way through that process. Which of the doors are you most comfortable with, and which do you fear? And we're getting into the magic of the door here, so feel free to take a look down at the list of doors on the character keeper.
Yeah. I think. I think that the door he is most comfortable with is the door of Horn, because I think he treasures his own memories a lot, but at the same time, there's always things that you'd like people to forget about. I
The
think
Dwarf Horn about memory and forgetting.
Yeah. And I think the one he is. It feels like the Door of Mist is the obvious one, but I actually think it's the Door of Willow that scares him the most, because I think there's something about being trapped asleep that is more scary than being dead. Because death is a kind of, the natural end to life and all that, but there's the idea of sort of being stuck forever asleep or stuck in strange dreams is a more frightening thing, I think, to Gwyn.
That's fascinating. Thank you so much. Very cool. All right, Barrow, turning to you, where do you live in the village and with whom?
I think Barrow's excuse me. I think Barrow lives with his mother and father and grandfather. Let's see. I think his parents are more just like I think they work the soil. They have a subsistence farm. Barrow is not good at helping with that, and so he's taken up with his grandfather. I think they live. Kind of on the outskirts of the village. I assume there's a sort of more Main Street feel in the middle, and a ring of farms or a crescent of farmland, and so in that area, not too far out into the moors, but midway out of the village.
What do you do for fun, Barrow?
Great question. I wonder if he watches birds. I think he might be a bird watcher.
Oh, that's great. I love that. And then the other thing about the loom is that you have this ability or tendency to sometimes see something of the future. So when did that first kind of come to you, and what did you see?
Oh, I think it was younger. I think probably like 11 or 12, and I think it was just like a very pragmatic thing. We were moving into mid-autumn, not quite to harvest time yet, and I think Barrow got a premonition that there would be a really early, really hard freeze, and so tried to let people know you need to. I know it's early, but you got to harvest. You got to bring stuff in. And I don't think a lot of people paid attention to this little boy who hangs out with his weird old grandpa a lot.
Did your parents listen to you?
I don't think they did that time. No, I don't think so.
And then the frost came, and perhaps they took a second look, or perhaps they thought nothing of it. The almanac that you have, did we establish that that's come down through the family, and you've found notes in it, and also scribbled some of your own, perhaps. Is that right?
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
All right. Are you keeping track of your visions there, in addition to the other sort of things an almanac might contain?
I think there's a few. Yeah. Maybe not as formal entries, but like maybe here or there, Barrow will make a little note in the margin or draw a picture that he knows what it means, but he doesn't want people to know that this is what he's thinking.
Oh, that's good. All right. This is good. I like all this setup. I feel like I'm up to take a break now, and when we return, get into playing with these characters and seeing what they get up to. How about we take a nice long break and come back at 1/4 hour? Great. I'll see you all then. Hello, hello. Everybody ready to dive back in here? Perfect. So, I think it's winter in the village of Sindel. There's a touch of frost in the air. The days are getting shorter. The nights are getting longer, and everyone is looking forward with great anticipation to the Festival of the Long Night, when they will be able to ward off the darkness and the cold coming together as a village. But in the meantime, people press on as they always do, working their various occupations, making sure the village has enough. When our story opens with these four young people, Luned, I want to ask you, when your younger sister Gwyn is not where she's supposed to be, how is it you know that she is at the West Tower? Oh, you are muted, I'm afraid.
Because she's been running there after having fights with our mother for the last year or so.
So this is the place you expect you would find her after one of these things. Why do you feel the need to recruit these, your three of your peers here to come with you to try and find Gwyn?
Because I don't like to admit this, but I find the West Tower actually very scary.
Yeah, well, who wouldn't, right? It's this leaning tower with a dark reputation, thanks to the reputed witch that died there. Cool. Ruga, why do you jump at the opportunity to come with Luned on this this little expedition?
Because it gets me out of earshot of either my family or the blacksmith for a little while, so that I don't get called on to do extra stuff. Like, if there's some little if there's some little extra job to be done, whether it's like sweeping up in the forge area, or whether it's me getting called home to do something extra around the house, like. When Ruga has the opportunity, like, she's going to be, somewhere where she can't possibly have heard anybody calling for her.
Excellent. All right. So the chance for a little bit of peace and quiet is what's drawn you, over past the Long Lake and towards the ominous bulk of the West Tower. Barrow, what's your feelings about this? Or do you have a do you have a bad feeling about this, or does everything seem normal and copacetic as you approach?
Yeah, I think the wind is a little chillier than it feels like it ought to be. And it's we are getting pretty close to it being right before the winter solstice. Is that right?
Yeah, it's on its way.
It should be really quite cold. Yeah, I think it's Barrow is pretty nervous about this, but is not. Would prefer this to. I think these would prefer this to the to hanging around with these effigies, which really give them the creeps.
Oh, that's fascinating. Gwyn, you're often a more nervous person, but the spooky tower is where you like to go to be alone. Like, how does that kind of even out? Like, are you at all creeped out, or this is your home turf where you feel more comfortable?
Yeah, I think it's there's something about the place that just feels kind of comfortable to Gwyn, or well, if not comfortable, at least not inherently strange to him. You know, it's he's heard the stories, but I think in some ways the stories of ancient witches and all of that scare him less than more practical things in some ways. And yeah, it's I think there's something about the fact that it's other people are scared to go there that makes him feel kind of like it is a good place to go.
Is this noticeable? Like, is it noticeable to his peers that Gwyn is less kind of withdrawn than he often is? Like, is there something like, kind of striking about his feeling more at home in the shadow of this tower?
I'd say nothing strikingly different, though. Possibly someone it would be noticeable for someone who was looking and carefully, but I don't think it's like a huge shift in mood or anything like that, but I think that there is just if just like the familiarity, because he has spent quite a lot of time out here, and there is just that sense of like he knows his way, knows every sort of stone of the tower, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's cool. So I think we'll see this quartet of peers approaching the tower. It's cast along kind of crooked shadow. What's Luned, what's most notable about the architecture of this tower? I assume it's it wasn't always leaning with a sort of slump to the side, but can you tell us any other details that are particularly striking to our characters as they approach? Oh, you're muted, I'm afraid.
Sorry. It has a surprising number of windows, not large windows, but little slit windows following the stairs going up the tower. People tell stories about when the possible witch lived there, and there were rumors that sometimes at night you see all of the windows alight with an unearthly gleam. But now they look like, well, they're dark. I've always thought that the tower looked like it was covered in eyes, which is part of why I don't like it.
Yeah. I think besides the tower itself and its kind of looming presence, the most notable thing that jumps out at you is there's a dead deer lying at the base of the tower, and it looks like it's been freshly killed. Luned, what do you do?
Does it look like it's been freshly killed by a person? Like there are, arrows sticking out of it, or does it look more like it's possibly an animal?
It does not have arrows sticking out of it, but if you want to examine it more closely, I might call on you to give a situation your attention here.
I will give it my attention.
So that's a roll plus caution. We've got a online dice roller if you want to roll online, or if you happen to have 2d6 in front of you, we can do it that way.
I do have 2d6 in front of me.
All right, yeah, go ahead, and your caution is 0, so it's a flat roll. Just roll those 2d6, and we'll see where everything starts out here.
3.
That's a 3 total.
Yeah.
Great. So this is a miss. So you're going to be kind of in the GM's hands. It says here for this move, on a miss, ask one anyway, but be prepared for the worst. So you get to ask one of these questions from Give Your Attention, but you should also be prepared for the worst. Loonhead, what would you like to know? Tell me a little more about how you are, investigating this scene or trying to take in your surroundings here.
What should I be afraid of?
Oh, a very good question. As you take a bit of a closer look, it's obvious that the deer was torn open by a large predator, but there's it doesn't look like a wolf or some creature you're more familiar with has attacked this. The thing that did this is clearly a terrifying beast, just based on what it has left here, right? And the way one of the deer's antlers is like snapped clean in half and like lodged in the ground near it. Also, it happened very recently because there's bloody partial prints around this thing. So very nearby is something quite dangerous. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can twist the knife there. Yeah, I think like as you're taking all that in, there's a light turns on up in the tower for just a moment, right? Like suddenly against the sky is darkening early because it's winter, and so for a moment there is a visible light shining from one of the windows of the tower. What do you consult with your peers? What do you do?
Yes. I ask, well, first I say, did you see that light? Because I can't quite believe that I saw that.
Oh, that's a great question. Ruga, were you looking at the dead deer or the tower?
Almost certainly looking at the deer. And I'm terrible at noticing things, so almost certainly did not notice that that light up in the tower.
Barrow, were you looking at the tower or looking at the deer?
I think probably looking at the deer, but may have noticed a flash in the periphery.
Yeah, just at the very edge. Gwyn, tower or deer?
I think Gwyn might have had an eye on the tower. I think he was possibly a little bit behind the others. Not far, but just like a few steps.
Yeah. So as Ludit says, did you see that light in the tower? Gwyn, you're the only one who can like truthfully say yes. I definitely saw that.
I think I saw something. I guess if Goen was in there, maybe she has a torch.
Maybe. And then I decide to go into the tower because I want to. Well, firstly, I'm hoping that whatever killed the deer might not be good at stairs and doors, and also the sooner I find Goen, the sooner we can get away.
Yeah, absolutely. So Luned is kind of marching on ahead here. It sounds like. Barrow, what do you do?
I think Barrow says, "Hold on. I know this one. I know a trick. Can someone get some of the hair from that deer for me? I know a trick, but I'm not going to take the hair off that deer."
And I think Ruga rolls her eyes and like leans down and like cuts a tuft off of hair off maybe the deer's ear.
Thank you. And all right, if I remember right, I'm going to rub it in my hand, and whatever predator, whatever killed this deer, went somewhere. Hopefully not too close, but the hair will fall in the direction that the hunter went. Okay, ready? And let go. And yeah, we'll see which direction the hair flies.
So it sounds like you're calling on superstition.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. So when you call on superstition, choose your aim and describe the ritual or talisman that produces it. I like this little ritual of letting fall the hair from the the dead prey. Are you primarily hoping to just like reveal to yourself and your peers where the predator has gone, in what direction it's yeah, all right.
Yes. Yeah, before we step into a tower, a spooky tower. Yeah,
roll plus learning, and we'll see how it works.
Oh, 9 and 2 is 11.
Wow. All right. That's a strong hit. So with your learning, you have a full hit on this call and superstition. Whoever taught you this was telling the truth after all. Is that your grandfather?
Yeah.
That makes sense. It works as they said, but choose just one. So you choose one little snag or hitch here. So which would you pick?
I'm trying to find one of these that makes good sense. I think it let me see here. The effect is unreliable or short-lived. Makes sense. Like maybe some of this hair is fairly clearly moving in one direction, but there's not but there is a greater spread than Barrow had hoped, and it's not terribly clear.
Yeah, it looks like this hair is kind of falling towards the south, towards like a little just a little kind of rocky cave near the base of the tower, but some of the like at the last moment breeze picks up and you see some of the hair kind of spreads out, some of it kind of falling more towards the tower itself. So for the most part, it looks like the ritual you've done here is pointing towards the rocky cave, but some of the hair spreads out, including towards the tower. How do you interpret this to your peers here?
Well, I think the message is clear that danger is all around us. We should definitely not go towards that. I don't know if we should go towards that tower.
You say as Luned is already like stepping across the threshold, I assume.
Yeah.
Ruga, what do you do?
I think as Barrow mentions, like the mentions that the thing might be in the cave, I think Ruga sort of lowers her spear just a little bit and is like facing the cave and sort of backing towards the tower as everybody else is, I'm presuming, going into the tower.
Oh, I mean, folks should tell me what they're doing. Gwyn, are you headed towards the tower?
Yeah, I think Gwyn is following Luna into the tower, or towards the tower.
Great. So Ruga, it sounds like you're kind of taking a rear guard position.
Yeah, I think she's basically putting her, keeping an eye on the cave, since Barrow seems to think that that's probably where whatever did this is, which makes sense. And Barrow's usually, about 50-50. I mean, it makes sense for something to be hiding in the cave rather than some animal climbing up in the tower. The tower, tower creeps everything out. So
you might have a move here, actually. Did you think you're triggering Guardian?
Well, if there's an actual threat, maybe. Oh wait, no. Sorry, I was thinking of Bodyguard.
No, Guardian is whenever you're
at the bottom.
Yeah, when you're in the company of your friends and take a moment to look around, you can ask the GM any question from the list below and get an honest answer. What do you want to know, Ruga?
Oh, is there an ambush or trap here?
Yes. So as you look, at that cave, you see like a glint in the darkness of the cave, the glint of like two angry bestial eyes, and below them the glint of two long curved fangs. And so it's obvious there is a great beast lurking right in that cave.
And I think she says, she curses under her breath, "Oak and Ash, everybody get into that tower. There's something big and nasty in that cave."
All right. So I take it we're moving into the tower. Barrow, you had some misapprehensions, but you kind of you step into this the entrance of this tower is this stone room, right? There's a spiral staircase against one wall that kind of that goes up, and but it's at this crazy angle given the tiltedness of the whole tower, and even as the four of you are stepping in, there's a sound of one of the steps of this staircase just clattering down, the whole thing is barely holding together. Gwyn, what makes you feel strangely at home and at peace in this space? And is it a detail that would jump out to anyone else?
I think that the even it's still cold in here. It's a stone tower. It's winter, but it's not it's a bit warmer it feels a bit warmer in here anyway than it does outside. Even taking into account the fact that it's sheltered from the wind, obviously it's not toasty warm or anything like that. It's not, and it's I guess again it's possibly you wouldn't necessarily remark on it if you weren't paying attention, but it's definitely there's definitely just something about that. And I think Gwyn has his mother's cloak on. It's one of those big, it's a big kind of heavy cloak with very fancy and obviously foreign embroidery over it, sort of fur rimmed around the hood and the sleeves, a bit too big for him. It kind of dwarfs him a bit. The hood sort of falls down a bit over his face. He has to kind of hitch it up a bit to properly move in it. But you can just sort of see him kind of relaxing into it a little bit. Sort of letting the shoulders slump down a little bit rather than having it kind of quite as tightly wrapped around him.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have, there's a lingering sense to you of just recent death, but that's from, you're pretty sure, the dead animal outside. How does that feel? Since we know Gwyn has this strange connection to the dead and to the doors that lead to that realm.
So yeah, I think it's a sense of again, it probably is a sense of like unnatural cold, almost like can feel like when you can feel like the air coming out of a freezer sort of thing, that like drift of cold air. But at the same time, I think from this deer, that feeling, it's got that cold feeling to it, but there's also, it's not an uncomfortable feeling. This is, or at least to all intents and purposes seems to be, it's an animal that has been killed by, it's a herd animal that's been killed by a predator. There's a feeling of naturalness to the death.
Oh yeah. A faint but distinct, kind of cry of fear echoes down from up above in the tower. All four of you hear it now that you're inside. Luned, what do you do?
I call out my sister's name and bolt up the stairs.
Are you at all afraid as you make your way up this rickety spiral staircase in this allegedly cursed place?
Oh yes, definitely. I'm at the moment a little bit overwhelmed by the need to find my sister and make sure she's all right, but I'm definitely noticing how rickety the staircase is and not liking it.
Yeah, I would like to ask you to stand fast, because this seems like a good situation for this. So when you stand fast against your fear, roll plus courage.
Okay. See, and oh dang, I have a courage. $11, and I have -1 on courage, so that's 10.
That's amazing. The dice have favored you. On a 10 plus hit, you steal your nerve and wrestle down your terror. So yeah, give us just a sense of Luned, not yielding to fear as she heads up through the tower. What does she I don't know, say to herself or cling to bring her through this?
Well, I have one hand braced on the wall, but the other one is clutching my locket as which has this is the picture of Gwyn in it as I climb, and I keep telling myself that Rosalind, my older sister, I keep telling myself Rosalind would do this. She was never afraid. She was completely down with marrying an outsider.
So you think of her as a archetype of courage for you.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other benefit you get from 10 plus on Stand Fast is ask the GM, what opportunity can I find here? Not to assume for you, but is it the opportunity to to get Gwyn back well in hand that you're looking for here?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the sort of thing where you almost charge right past her until you realize that where she is she's kind of like lodged in one of these windows in this increasingly precarious looking tower, and like staring down at what's below, and like you almost rush right past her and then stop, steady yourself and spot where she is. What do you say?
I grab her by the shoulder and I say, Gwyn, are you all right?
What are you doing here?
Looking for you.
I can take care of myself.
There is an enormous creature out there. It killed a deer. Did you see it?
And she points out the window to where the creature has emerged and is kind of pacing in front of the tower. He's like, yeah, freaky, right? That is strange.
I immediately turn and yell down the stairs, did you close the door?
Who's in the rear here? Who is Ruga, you were standing guard, as it were.
I think the better question is, does this place have a door still?
Oh, that's a great question. Are you yeah, I think you like upon initially checking, you're like, oh, here's the door. You get ready to pull it, and part of it's just starts to crumble into dust in your hand, right? Like it's this poorly maintained splintering bit of wood that's just screeching along the floor and not yielding to close off the entrance to the tower.
I don't think this UDAM door is going to actually help. It seems to be splinters and dust right now.
The creature's right outside. I can see it.
Yes, I can too. Go up the stairs farther, because I think it might be too big to come in the door. Maybe.
An interesting wager to make there, Ruga. Yeah. So you're giving up on the door itself. What else do you do?
Is there any basically just rubble that I can just shove into the doorway just to make the doorway a little smaller and maybe discourage this thing from trying to press its way through?
Nice. Just trying to grab any detritus that comes to hand and make a bit of a barrier. I think you can do that. I'm checking to see if there's if there seems like a move that triggers here. Anything you're thinking of?
I mean, stand fast is one thing, because that seems to be one of the catch-alls.
Are you feeling fear here?
I think so, because this is a really big predator that I didn't immediately recognize. I just saw big fangs and angry predator eyes. So, and it's definitely not something I would have not immediately recognized.
Go ahead and stand fast against your fear in order to, kind of fortify the door of the tower, pulling rubble and detritus in the way of this creature.
Okay, and that is plus courage, correct?
That is plus courage.
Okay. That'll be a total of 9.
Ah, all right. On 7-9 hit, you barely hold it together. Choose what you lose. So you are, doing your best here, right? Trying to make sure that your peers will be safe from this monstrous beast, but you're going to lose something in the process. You can take a look at the basic moves for examples, or tell me something else you think you might lose as you do this, Ruga.
I think it makes the most sense for Ruga to lose time, because she's having to basically just drag and shove and tip or whatever she can do to get stuff into the doorway. And I think that takes up time when she could have been scrambling up the stairs.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, so we'll kind of leave Ruga in the laborious process of trying to create a barricade, and then in a moment we'll see what happens because of the precious time she has lost. Let me just check in, Gwyn. Where are you? Are you heading up the stairs after Luned, or what else? What else are you doing given the situation developing here?
I think. I think that Gwyn has probably is probably scrambling up the stairs after Luned, because that creature doesn't look fun.
It certainly doesn't. So you're kind of making your way, and you see Luned kind of hauling her younger sister away from the window, and her younger sister does not seem to be greeting you as rescuers. She seems pretty put out with Luned, to be honest. Gwyn, do you intervene in what they're doing, or say anything to the two of them from as you approach?
No, I don't think he's going to intervene. I think he'll probably just come up the stairs, maybe kind of crouch down next to the stairs and kind of try and just peer down them a bit to see as best he can what's going on downstairs. But obviously it's like a spiral staircase, so not the easiest to do that with.
You see the occasional flash of red hair as Ruga is just hauling anything she can find, bits of stone, bits of lumber, some weird bent up metal astrolabe thing, orrery thing, right? And just trying to shove them all into the doorway and create a barrier. Barrow, what about you?
I think Barrow is tentatively working their way up the stairs. Having heard a step come down as we come in is not a good sign. I think that's what I got. I think is moving up the stairs slowly, trying to eke out the right steps.
Yeah. Also, I'll say you're able to make it with a close call as one step goes clattering down, and you're like all right, stepping over that one, right? And kind of find yourself up with Gwyn and Luned on this this floor of the tower that you've never been in before, right? I don't know, you've maybe poked your head into the base of this tower, but I don't think you've explored it the way that it sounds like Gwyn might have, or young Luned's sister has done sometimes in the past. What catches your attention as something you never see in the village that seems to be here in the tower?
I think there are. Am I? Oh, I'm on. Okay. I think there are several mirrors on this floor, which are not particularly rare, but if you've shopped for mirrors, you know, as they increase in size, they become exponentially more expensive.
Right. Yeah. People in town might have like a little like, hand mirror, right? Or like a very polished piece of metal that they use as a mirror. But it sounds like you're seeing much bigger mirrors here.
Yeah. Sort of, maybe not ornate, but larger probably than Barrow has ever seen. And more than one, which is absurd.
That's great. Yeah. And like, as you're looking back and forth between these two mirrors for just a moment, it seems to you like your reflection is slightly out of sync. And yeah, you know what? Let's look back at the base of this tower. Ruga, you lost precious time as you were pulling this barricade into place. So like as you're like heaving the last piece into place, this enormous clawed paw comes sweeping through, right? Like there's stuff getting in the way of this beast, but it has a chance to take a swipe at you as you're pushing the last piece of the barricade into place. And I'm going to go ahead and say that you should mark where for this.
Okay, so mark 1 box of where. That's
right. Yeah, you tell us how your character is kind of under pressure and stress and taking some wear and tear here.
Well, the first line of my wear track is I tire and I start to falter. I think that makes sense because basically she has tried to hurriedly move these heavy blocks and old pieces of reinforcing timber that have sort of fallen down through the tower, and they're awkward, they're heavy. And she's already worked a full day at the smithy, so she was already basically probably physically pretty worn down when we got here, and this is just starting to burn through more of her reserves than maybe she can afford to lose.
Yeah. So what do you cry out? What do you do as the creatures? It's like a massive cat-like paw here. You've seen little cats around the village. You've even seen maybe a mountain lion in the distance, but this is bigger than any mountain lion you've heard of. And it rakes long like claws across your arm for a moment, right? As it manages to get one of its paws through.
I think she jumps back, snarls at it, like yells, "Ah!" and then like pokes at it with the spear as she's sort of backing up the stairs.
Great, yeah. So like, there's like the one arm of this beast, and you're like kind of like pushing it back, poking it with the spear. I'm not inclined to call that resort to violence, just because it's already you've partially stymied it, and you're kind of poking it as you retreat, unless you think something different is happening here.
No, I think basically the poking is not going to do anything to it. It might annoy it more than anything else, because she's not trying to hurt it. This is more like a nervous, like prodding, like back kind of thing.
Yeah. And like it kind of pulls the arm back, and then like you see that face pressed up against the gap there, right? Like flaring eyes and these massive saber fangs, and it's trying to work its head in through the gap also now. But you can make your careful retreat up the teetering stairs to the to your peers as Gowan says to you, Luna, "Ugh, you brought all of these people. I can't believe you."
What? That I'd want my friends to come with me to a tower that is clearly dangerous?
Yeah,
I can't believe that you would come here again. You know how Mother worries.
she just rolls her eyes at this. I guess my question is there a move you want to trigger here?
I'm gonna try take their measure.
Yeah, figure what's going on with your sister.
Yeah, and I'm kind of disturbed that she's this blasé about a giant cat monster.
Yeah. Go ahead and roll plus caution as you're kind of taking her in, trying to evaluate. Let's see that roll, and your caution is a 0, so cool. It's a flat roll.
5.
On a miss, you let slip your interest. They size you up instead. Tell them something private and compromising that you give away. What is it that instead of learning something about Gowan, you're going to give away something about yourself? Like, so give me a sense. How does that happen?
I stare at Gowan, like trying to figure out why she's being so difficult about this and getting more and more upset, and then finally I burst out. I know you already hate Mother, but how could you do this to me? You're my only sister left.
Ooh. And that's an outburst that's fully audible to everyone here, I take it.
Yes.
Yeah. Barrow, this scene is getting tense in more ways than one, and I think you even start to feel like a shuddering in the tower itself, like this beast trying to smash its way in is destabilizing this whole already leaning structure. What do you do? And also just for context, I think Gowan is momentarily stunned, taking in what her sister has just said to her.
I think Barrow is going to remember that they're wearing their handy mushroom hunting satchel. And remember, wait, why did I pack? I'm pretty sure I packed something that would be very helpful in this situation. And is going to search through that satchel. We'll see what it is. And this is the character move Well Prepared. When supplies for something sorely needed, say what it is and roll plus learning. So
what sort of thing are you looking for?
That's a great question. I think and stay with me here. I think it's wolf urine.
All right, talk me through the usage.
Oh, it is a deterrent for a number of pests, and I imagine like a lot of species of cats as well would find it a troubling smell, an off-putting smell that is that's not something they're interested in being around.
Okay, I see. So the idea is it would work as a sort of chemical deterrent.
Yeah, an olfactory deterrent.
All right. Yeah, go ahead and roll with learning to see if you remembered to pack this.
Trying to imagine how you harvest that.
I don't know.
Because you find like a standing puddle that a wolf has relieved itself in, and scoop it up. A little wineskin, I guess. Well, what do we have? What was the roll?
Great. It is 2 plus learning of 2 is 4, so that's pretty bad.
On a miss, does it say what happens on a miss, or am I?
Let me see.
Okay, you got it. And a miss, choose 2, but be prepared for the worst. So there is some you pick from these kind of options, and then also you're kind of in my hands. So what do you think, Barrow, from the options we have on the table?
Let's see here. I think it's not quite what you'd hoped for, but it'll work in a pinch. So I think it is something that has a really pungent smell, and it is costly. Say who you owe for it, and ask the GM what you owe them. So I think this is actually something that's really pretty valuable. Who do I owe for it? And
is it something that's actually meant to be a perfume or a musk then, but in a heavy concentration, it's really overpowering?
I think so. Yeah, this is a really specific type of perfume that my grandfather had spent X amount of time harvesting this particular plant, and this bottle was supposed to be sold or traded to one of our so it was supposed to be sold or traded to someone who'd commissioned him for it, one of the merchants in town, one of the village leaders, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you've got something. It's strongly scented. It's not exactly the scent you were hoping for, but definitely could have an overpowering scent. It is also something that is costly, and your grandfather would need your help to to recreate this, right, in order to appease the village leader. If you shouldn't even have this, right? This shouldn't have been in your pack. This should have been in the store, waiting to be given to the person who commissioned it. What do you do, Barrow? The sense that the tower could collapse imminently is just getting stronger. One of the mirrors shatters.
Oh, cool. I think the answer is Ruga, my aim is no good. This is a stink bomb. Will you please throw this at that thing, and I'm going to cover my nose.
Ruga will take the thing, feel its weight a little bit, so she can feel whether she needs to toss it or actually throw it. So is this a bottle, or is this a skin of something? What is it in?
It sounded like it was a glass bottle eventually. Once we established it was kind of a more expensive perfume type thing.
So it's been a little glass bottle-y thing like this, maybe? Okay. I think Ruga takes it. She keeps her spear up in her left hand, and she sort of rounds that corner again, and waits to see that face press back into that opening.
Mm-hmm. And just
as soon as that does, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, just to check, are your peers right behind you here? What do we think?
Probably, because I don't think anybody really went that far up the stairs. like they would look. Sounded like everybody sort of stopped maybe halfway up the tower, and there were arguments and things like that going on.
Got it. All right. Do folks agree? You're following Ruga back down at this point. See if she can make a way out for you.
That sounds good to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gwyn kind of getting dragged along reluctantly. Ruga, what do you do?
As soon as she thinks she's got an opening to hit this thing in the face, that's what she's going to try and do.
Sounds like resorting to violence now.
Yeah, I think that's where we're going. Let's see. So that's is that plus resolve?
It's plus resolve, and you tell me what you're trying to do, and it sounds like you're trying to drive it off at least enough to create an exit for you and your friends.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead and roll plus resolve.
Okay, that's 6 on the dice. My resolve is 2, so that makes it an 8.
Okay. On a 7-9 hit, your victim's player chooses what you accomplish, maybe what you hope for, maybe not. Oh, also, no matter what, it's unpleasant and intense. Mark where. So I think part of that is just the scent is overpowering. Like even when you're not the one having it, shatter in your face, you're going to be hit by a bit of a wave of this. So you are.
Well, we got to go out through that same door, right?
We got to go out through that same door. Go ahead and mark aware Ruga, and then I decide what you do to the to the creature, whether it's drive them off, restrain them, hurt them badly, make them fear you, or take something from them. Yeah, I think the bottle shatters, and you. Let me double check one thing. Yeah, the bottle shatters, and you hear a howl of kind of rage and fear from the creature. It clears away from the door, but Ruga, hearing that sound, it just sounds to you like it hates you, right? Like more than just the instinct of a wild animal. This creature will remember you through this bottle of terrible smell in its face, and there's a moment where it locks eyes with you as it's retreating. But the pathway is suddenly cleared.
Run for it.
Run for it?
Hurrying everybody and trying to keep the spear in between everybody else and that thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I have, my instinct is to kind of cover the journey back to the village as a make a difficult journey roll, just because even if this might not be as difficult a journey if you were just taking a stroll here on a sunny day. It is nightfall in winter, and there is a beast you are trying hard to avoid. So I'd love for someone to roll make a difficult journey, and I'm open to that being Gwyn, who hasn't rolled as much. Does that sound all right to you, Gwyn?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think, Gwyn is definitely interested in putting as much distance between him and whatever that was as possible. So I think Gwyn is kind of pushing on forwards through the snow. So I've got the cloak, sort of. That you probably can't see any of them under it. They're sort of barreling through the snow.
Yeah, absolutely. So go ahead and roll make a difficult journey, and we'll see. We'll get a sense of kind of where we're wrapping up here for our quartet, and that we'll be picking up with next week.
Continuing in the theme, that is a total of 6.
Total of 6 on make a difficult journey. Great. So as you're forging ahead, the snow gets more intense, and there comes a moment where the four of you realize you can't even see where you're going, right? The snow is coming down thick and fast, and you're going to need to find shelter, somewhere, anywhere. So everyone mark one where, and we will pick up with I guess who should ask? Barrow, what unlikely, like ramshackle bit of shelter do the five of you find as the snow just starts beating down terribly?
I think there's an abandoned fishing hut on this side of the lake.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I think an abandoned fishing hut. Yeah.
Yeah. So as the snow comes down, and there's the growl of the beast in the distance, the four of you and Gwyn, huddle in this fishing hut, and Luned at this point, Gwyn says kind of under her breath, this is more just to you, not for everyone. She says, Luned, I'm not running away from you. I miss her too. You must have heard her though, right? Her spirit isn't at rest. We need to do something to help her. That's why I keep going back to that tower. There's got to be answers there. And she opens up her hand. What's a piece of jewelry that your sister brought with her to the other village?
She had a pair of pearl earrings, which our mother gave her on her wedding day. It's like the fanciest jewelry we have in our family.
That's great. It's a single pearl earring, and the surface is kind of is misted over. You can tell it's the same earring, but it's changed in some way. There's this mist almost clinging to it. And with that, we'll probably wrap up for this evening. But we'll reconvene next week to continue the adventures of these characters and discover what becomes of them, especially what happens when they, hopefully fight their way back to the village. Anyone who's watched along with us, thanks for being part of this. Any player characters feel like they hit a milestone, we'll keep our eyes on those for the further sessions then, but no worries. So anyone who's come along with us so far? Oh yeah, Ruga, Chris, you got one?
I think she got in trouble for doing something hastily.
I'll allow it. Yeah. So yeah, go ahead. Mark that off as kind of one of your steps. Along your journey here is you experience the consequences of acting in haste. All right. Anyone who's been watching along with us, thanks for joining in. We'll be back next week with more tales from the Low Cantrefs. I'm really enjoying this game from the Wildwood so far, and I look forward to playing more. Till then, stay safe out there, everyone.